Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Today, we're going to be talking about developing your mentoring map for a successful career. And so this is part of our inclusive mentoring hub at the University of Kentucky, Marshall University, and University of Louisville, supported by the National Science Foundation. And this virtual hangout is being initiated by myself. I'm Jimmy Fox. I'm a professor at the University of Kentucky. Here's just a list of references and resources used in this first part of the presentation that you can look at. So mentoring defined, if we define mentoring, the old definition, mentoring is a relationship between a senior and junior level student or professional aimed to accomplish skill development, psychosocial or socio-emotional support, and career development for that junior professional or that mentee, as we call the junior professional. So this is really the older definition. It reflects a top-down, one-on-one relationship between a mentor and a mentee. But as we move into these new definitions of mentoring, we see that mentoring comes in many types of in-person and virtual methods. So, at 12 o'clock at the top of this figure, we see one-on-one mentoring. That's the traditional old definition that I was referring to. Now, if we move clockwise, here we see a group of people group mentoring. So this is going to be one or several mentors that work with a group of mentees. Moving on, we see peer mentoring. Moving clockwise, we see peer mentoring. This is where participants in this model are from the same role and they support each other, such as two high school students, two or more college students, two faculty members that mentor and support one another. And then we see distance or e-mentoring is becoming an issue, is becoming a method. Even this can be thought of as distance or e-mentoring, maybe as a group today as we work together, and then peer mentoring as well as we work together. So here, this distance or e-mentoring participants can connect virtually without losing the personal touch. We move on to reverse mentoring. This is a mentoring relationship that's flipped from the traditional model, and then the junior role of the junior professionals become the mentors, and they mentor the senior professionals or senior students. So this reverse mentoring is becoming more and more popular as the younger generation has such a strong understanding of technology. And then speed mentoring. This speed mentoring is a mentoring that would occur as part of a conference or a workshop. So mentoring defined, I've kind of shrunk the old definition here, that one-on-one senior and junior professionals. Working more and more with this new definition, we can start to think of mentoring as a network or a map of people who support the mentee being you. So a network or constellation structure places the mentee at the center of a large group of mentors, and each support the mentee with different strengths. So this mentoring network implies that the mentee strategically establishes a diverse network of mentors who may be drawn from many places and who serve in different roles. And so we can think of these mentoring maps, and we can start to think, how can each one of us define a mentoring map for ourselves? There's lots of examples of mentoring maps that have become available in the literature and that are freely available. The way these work, you can see the lists on the left side, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is a fillable form where you can go through and fill out different mentors that support you. And so these mentors can be those that provide sponsorship, and substantive feedback. They can provide emotional support. They can be role models. We see another example of one of these fairly complex mentoring maps that you can fill out, and then over your career, over your schooling, continue to develop that mentoring map, and then use that map as a guide when you need help, when you need access to opportunities. Then you go to that box on your mentoring map and you look at different internal or peer mentors that might help you. Another example put forth by the Earth Science Women's Network. Here we see the safe space, the role model, the accountability, the access to opportunities. All these bubbles are then connected to different mentors, and you can use this fillable form to essentially fill out those mentors and use this map to help guide you in your career. So I liked the Geosciences Education and Mentorship Support Model, or GEMS. This is a nice program, this GEMS program, because they tend to be focused on undergraduate students as well as early career or early stage grad students. But we'll see that these mentoring maps are also great for high school students and for faculty members. So this was a nice middle ground mentoring map that I adopted. And so here again is you in the center of that mentoring map. And then we see 6 boxes or 6 groups of mentors in the GEMS model. We see role models, we see safe space, substantive feedback, professional development, intellectual community, and then emotional support. So we see these 6 different types of mentors in the GEMS model. And so the mentoring map activity that each one of us can fill out on our own is as follows. Step 1, you can copy and paste this URL to your web browser, then download the mentor map fillable forms from that GEMS website. And then you can take and just fill in the mentors, your mentors, into each one of those boxes. And so step 2, before you start writing down your mentors, step 2 is to write out your career goals. So what are your career goals or goals? So perhaps your goal is to essentially get accepted to a college biology department. Perhaps your goal is to work towards a master's of science degree in biosystems engineering. Perhaps your goal is to attain a PhD in civil engineering and then move on and become a professor. Perhaps your goal is to become the chairperson of the Department of Geosciences at your college or university. So with those goals in mind, then you can start to fill in mentors. And so step 3 is to fill in those mentors in each category who can help you to accomplish these goals. Step 4 is to go to your mentoring map during your schooling and your career development when you need support. So if you see I need support in the intellectual development, then you move through that map and you see which mentors that you might call upon for that professional development support or intellectual development support. Step 5 is to continue to add to your mentoring map as your school and career continues. So adding to this mentoring map, it may take years to really fill out that mentoring map, but that's okay. This is something that can be successive and continue to move forward. I do want to talk briefly, define about each box of the mentoring map activity. So the role models, a role model is someone who's carrying out their life, both their work life and their non-work life, in a way that you aspire to do so. So you're really encouraged to develop relationships with living role models who inspire and who motivate you. So these role models do not necessarily need to be in your topical field. They do not need, if you're a biology major, an undergraduate biology major, this doesn't necessarily need to be a biologist, but perhaps if you attain to be a professor or to be a professional biologist and lead a laboratory, then you want to seek those people that would be an excellent role model for you to follow in their footsteps. Maybe it could just be another type of professional that you aspire to be like. Safe space. So this isn't actually a mentor, but a space that you can go where you feel confident. This is a place or environment that fosters confidence and protects from exposure to discrimination, criticism, harassment, or any other emotional or physical harm. So sometimes in your schooling, you need a safe space outside of school where you can relax, bring your whole self, and then speak in an unfiltered way without being judged. So this safe space can be an excellent place for you to find that confidence. Next, we have substantive feedback. So these are mentors who are really technical in nature. These are mentors who help you to grow and professionally develop through thoughtful and critical feedback. So these are mentors who would provide expertise in your field or focus area. So this could be more of that traditional mentor. It could be a senior level expert, or it could be a peer level expert who really you desire their intellectual knowledge. You desire discussions with them in order to grow. Professional development. This is different than substantive feedback. Professional development refers to the how-tos of your schooling or your work, such as how to apply for college, how to be a teaching assistant or a grader for a class, how to respectfully disagree with a senior student or a senior colleague, how to get travel reimbursement. So these can be very simple things that aren't so topical and technical in nature, but really part of your daily work life that helps you get through that work life. And these mentors can help in that way. Sometimes colleges will have advisors that support the whole college that support very well in these types of roles. Intellectual community. The intellectual community, this can be fellow students, so often peer mentors or colleagues who provide invigorating intellectual debates and engaging conversations. These are like-minded people who are engaged in similar intellectual pursuits as you. These are folks that you can bounce ideas off, debate topics, and really think about the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields that you're pursuing and see how they affect everyday life. Emotional support. So wherever you are in your career, you really need trusted friends, family, and colleagues who can listen empathetically and can help you get through challenging times. So these emotional support mentors, they can be parents, they can be friends, they can be partners, they can be all kinds of people. They can also be professionals in your workplace that you have a nice collegial relationship with. But these are really those that can support us emotionally, because as we know, school and pursuit of degrees can be very, very difficult, as can the workplace and working on advancement in the workplace. So there again, the mentoring map activity that please you can partake in. Step 1, copy and paste this URL and then download the fillable form. Step 2, write out your career goals. Step 3, fill in the mentors in each category. Step 4, go to your mentoring map when you need support. And then step 5, add new mentors to your mentoring map as your schooling and your career is developing. At this time, I want to open up a discussion with the folks that are in the chat with us today, that are in the virtual hangout today. This virtual hangout is really your virtual hangout, your time. And so what I want us to do is maybe just, if people can just start to share who might be mentors in their life, who might fit into these different boxes. It can be a one-on-one mentoring or a group mentoring, peer mentoring or e-mentoring. as well as reverse or speed mentoring. But I just think a discussion of this and some brainstorming, probably most of us have not filled out a mentoring map before. And so this brainstorming can really give us ideas of who might fit into some of these boxes. And so I'm going to go ahead and open it up for discussion. If you will please just unmute your mic when you're going to speak, I think that will help facilitate. And thank you.
Jimmy, that's excellent. That's a wonderful discussion of all the mentoring opportunities. I had never seen it really laid out that way. But I think it's going to be very helpful in my work with the students and other professionals also.
I think so. I think, many of us have this type of mentoring and these types of mentors, but, to put them in these boxes can really help us in times of need. And any mentors you can think of, Mindy, that would fit into one of these boxes?
Well, yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about how to get a travel reimbursement, there's like so many things. I'm like, because I'm just taking over in the chair role again, and there's a lot of forms that need filled out. There's a lot of budgeting things, and so we have an assistant dean who's really been helpful to me, just passing me the right forms and telling me how to fill them out. So I mean, you're always going to be learning throughout your whole career. There's always going to be new things. So that I have a mentor right now that's helping me.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
I also think it's just important to have them written down like this, because sometimes when you need something, it doesn't immediately come to you. That I have a support network and I know who to go to. And so I think that's going to be very helpful.
I agree. Just writing them down and identifying them can really, and it'll take time, I think, to fill it out, but.
And it may change. I mean, through your career and development, people will come on and off of the list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I like this a lot. And I think often too, when you need this is likely in a moment of crisis or near crisis when you need your mentors. And that's probably when we may not be in the best thinking place. And so having this documented helps because it's quickly accessible in there. And I think too often, perhaps this is an engineer thing and maybe even kind of generational thing, we can think that we're the best person to solve our problems. Like we can push ourselves through whatever we're dealing with in the current moment. And so this is also a good reminder that we've got other people to lean on. I think for me personally, thinking about mapping this out, I think Mindy kind of alluded to it with her comment, like our roles are very diverse. We have a lot of different things that we do, and that's not exclusive to academia. I think that's true for a lot of industry scientists and engineers. And so I think like there's probably a mentor when I have research needs that I go to. There's a mentor when I have teaching needs that, I kind of reach out to. And so it's great to have this modeled, the different types of mentors and the different things we go to. But I think even within my professional setting, not to make it more complicated, there's even further, further breakdown of who I would call a mentor for certain things. So it's really good.
That's great. And earlier in the presentation, there's links to those other mentoring maps that do a little bit more of that. They really break it down with that spaghetti structure, and it can get very complex. You're totally correct there, Gabe.
So I'm teaching a class right now where we're going over project management, developing a research project, how you do that. And I'm encouraging people to always get feedback so that you don't have you don't have biases built in, and so that you make sure your experimental design or your statistical analysis is robust and inclusive. And you can really do that best when you get feedback, so that you make sure you've got all the bases covered. And having people that are identified that you can trust to help you with that kind of stuff will really facilitate that review process.
I agree. I agree.
I'm in a mood. I've got a storm going on. I've got thunder going.
Anyone else have any examples of mentors in their life, or mentors that might fit into this space? I know I've really been encouraged by the group mentoring. We've been fortunate to have a few projects over the last 5 or so years that involved multiple groups of professors that worked with students, at the same time or on and off. And that group discussion and that group mentoring, I think, can just be so positive. It kind of takes away that, one-on-one. Sometimes when it's a one-on-one advisor, you feel like you have to agree with everything your advisor says, even though you don't. And so with that group mentoring, it can be a little bit less maybe not confrontational, but less a little more laid back, because you can kind of pick and choose on the advice. And then also the reverse mentoring, it's just been amazing how much I've been learning from the undergraduate students that I've been working with lately. And gosh, even my 13-year-old daughter, who's teaching me about technology all the time. So that reverse mentoring, I think, is huge. But the substantive feedback is always a place that I'm trying to build out. The substantive feedback is the experts in our fields. Those experts tend to be really, really busy. But I do think, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And if we can continue to nudge those experts for their time, might be a senior professor at our university, or often it's a scientist in my field, a scientist at like the Kentucky Geological Survey or the United States Geological Survey, who might be slow to answer the email, but then they will end up talking with me on the phone and talking through a process. And then also we can call out people, across the country or internationally. So I think finding and identifying those people in these boxes, and then working to develop those relationships either virtually or through conferences, is something that I'm trying to keep my eye on. Anyways, just some thoughts that come to mind.
And I think that is one thing that I was thinking when I was sitting here looking at this also, is that I think this is something you need to pull out from time to time and review it. I think you need to look and say, have I been to my safe space recently? Am I do a trip there, to kind of rejuvenate, and do I need to touch base with some people to kind of motivate me to stay in touch with my, feedback or professional development communities? So something that you can visit with occasionally to make sure you're on track.
Yeah, I think these are all excellent points. One thing I want to emphasize that's been helpful for myself has been the role of peer mentoring to help advance my career and life. Peer mentoring has been really helpful through a lot of different things that I've been doing. So, for example, I've got a 3-year-old, and we found a couple who are our peers, and they also have a 3-year-old. And so, talking back and forth about like parenting tips has been super helpful. One of the guys I like to go ride bikes with too. And so like, mentoring tips with respect to, how to get in better shape. That's something that's really important. But then also it's been important for me too in my work life. There's some other assistant professors at the University of Louisville who I can, go to for advice for, how to submit some of the paperwork for a proposal. What do I need to do to get tenure? Who should I, seek for additional mentoring in the department? Who should I maybe avoid? So yeah, I want to just say that peer mentoring has been really, really helpful for me.
Thanks for sharing that, Tyler. Okay, well, excellent. I think this gives us a great first start, and please work on your fillable forms and work through that mentoring map process. Thank you for being here today. And let's see, did I stop? I'm going to go ahead and exit here. Thank you everyone for being here today, and thank you for watching the presentation.